You're probably gonna want to be a little closer, if possible. Could we put your mic on top of something just to raise it a bit?
Sure. Box lunch?
A box lunch.
Sure, that'll work.
Do you have anything box-like? Like a box?
A box would be great.
It'll work.
That is the most box-like box.
There, this is perfect.
Nice.
Hey,
No one even knows their box is there.
Cool.
adapt, improvise, overcome.
It's going into chat. And it seems like it's cooperating for now.
As soon as it's.
Yes?
Oh, no, as soon as you guys start, I'll cut my video. So.
I mean, you only have the
All right.
thing.
All right. We're looking pretty good.
Yeah.
If anything, yeah, I mean, if you want to play with that that shot, if you want to bring it down at all, or take it.
Hold on. Mr. DeMille.
Okay, that shot sucks. I don't like that angle at all.
No, I like it.
Do you? It's
Yeah.
all dark. Maybe I should just, open up my. Get past my preconceptions. And yes, we have power.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, in this room.
Oh.
Yeah, in this room.
Someone in our chat room said, "Do you have power?" Yes. That's how you can see us. Zoe said. Yeah. I actually like the orange. It's the bottled water though. I just wanted to eat the orange.
The oranges, we need a little.
Let's spice it up and give it some color.
Well, vitamin C, right? Just makes you feel good.
That always makes me nervous. Shannon has a can of soda behind her laptop.
Oh yeah.
And I've knocked those over before.
So have I. My bad.
No worries. I just didn't want to have it. Horrible accident.
By the way, if anyone wants that orange, I have been carrying it around for 3 days, but it's probably not radioactive.
Problem.
So
I
feel
can't
like you
be
don't
sure.
want it.
Right. Can't guarantee.
Can you be sure? We're not wearing those like Wi-Fi radioactive boxer briefs. So, do we need to move this other way? I can't see the shot.
Oh,
you
put
see
it
it?
that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's
Sure.
the shot.
Okay.
I mean, until Pepsi pays us. That would be
Well, I think the rule is
Standards
if
and
it
That's right.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
it works. We should grab
It's
every
fair
logo
use,
we
I
can,
believe.
put it on the title.
the city of Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas, anything. Coca-Cola.
I've been having fun saying that we are in unincorporated Clark County.
Sure have.
technically in Las
Not
Vegas.
technically Las Vegas.
So it's like he's having fun saying it.
It's good. I mean, it's something I did not know. Okay.
Oddly, given the events of today, we're early. Like we're running
I
ahead. This is good. I know. I should.
Knock on wood. Yeah.
Are we streaming now?
Yeah, we're alive.
Okay. So I shouldn't say anything bad.
Do we need to? We all good? All right. I haven't touched it. Cool. Fake. We didn't actually start the stream.
Okay.
Or not the stream. We didn't actually start the show. You couldn't hear that though because it's down here. Could you? You couldn't hear that, man. Here.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
No. I'm playing the music as a test.
Got it. Can't hear it.
Everyone on the stream is like, "Oh, are they starting the show?"
Oh. Yeah.
Like, I don't hear anything.
Black Panther had the biggest first day ticket pre-sale of any Marvel movie.
What?
Really?
Wow.
Any.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's really exciting.
that's crazy. All right. Well, I'm almost tempted to start early, just to be like, let's not tempt fate.
I know, right?
You know, and-
Let's get while the getting's good.
right?
I don't want to tempt fate either.
How you feeling, Roger? Are you okay with that? Did you get enough chicken salad in you? No, you need to eat.
I'm glad you got some food.
Yeah. Roger's been working hard.
You're not hangry, which is always great. Or is it changry? Changry.
Yes. All right. So we're going to introduce ourselves. So it'll be I'm Tom Aaron, I'm Sarah Lane, then I'm Shannon Morse, I'm Bill Detwiler.
Okay.
And you can say, Shannon Morse Tech Thing, Bill Detwiler, Tech Public, leave it editor. And I'll say, thank you, boss. Please don't fire me for talking about it. All right. Are we good?
I don't know.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Scott, we can say- All right, here we go. Sarah, can you say the...
Sure.
Yeah. 3, 2...
Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, January 10th, 2018, from DTNS in a different part of the Las Vegas Convention Center. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Bill Detwiler.
And we had a top story, I guess, is the major power cut
Yep.
in the convention
If you
center.
follow any tech journalist on Twitter, you've seen lots of jokes about the
Beautiful black levels on the television.
on the television is blacker than ever.
Hashtag CES Blackout.
But truly, it's unless you're an exhibitor, because they were all worried about stuff getting stolen
Yeah.
from their booths. Most of everyone else is kind of stuck outside or in one of the other halls, which we are in now. Luckily, we had a contingency
Sarah
plan.
was on the other side of the fence when it happened, so they wouldn't let her back in.
Oh,
Roger and
wow.
I were inside, and we're like, we shouldn't leave.
Yeah.
So we're sure we want to leave because we had to take all of our gear with us.
Yeah.
And so finally, at one point, we had to make the call of, make the trek up here. Shannon found
Yeah.
us this location. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And
I was just sitting here eating brownies, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I can help."
and
Can I help
Bill,
you?
You found us.
I found us. I actually had to go outside and then run the gauntlet again, fight my way through security, and get back into the hallway. But, it all worked out. in the end.
Everyone,
worked out.
everyone overcame.
That's
to
right.
get here, so we're
You
very
know,
appreciative.
it just so happened I was chilling at the Panasonic booth when it happened, and I was checking out the new Lumix G5 GH5S, which is supposed to be an excellent low light video camera. So I grabbed my SD card, I stuck it in the GH5S, and I started walking around the booth with it. And I was like, well, I guess this is my booth tour. Actually, did pretty well, so I was pretty impressed.
I guess for everybody who
Nice.
says, a lot of tech folks complain. See, you should be glad to go to CES. It's like the one thing you need is power.
Power.
Yeah,
It's hard to show TVs without power.
it sure is. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
connected devices, not the internet.
Right. Or large modular micro LED walls
But if you want to
need
get
power.
if you want to get a look at what the floor looked like, I put up a little Facebook Live post, and it's up on our Facebook group, facebook.com/Daily Tech News Show. Big round of applause for Roger Chang, our producer, though, who schlepped all
Hello.
the stuff, got us
Yay.
back together.
I convinced Tom to move,
Yeah,
just in case.
He's like, I didn't want to give up.
Yeah.
I was like, no, the power will come back. So let's start with a few tech things you should know.
In response to reports that he might leave Apple come August, Jimmy Iovine told Variety, "I am committed to doing whatever Eddie, Q, and Tim Cook and Apple need me to do to help wherever and however I can take all he stock vested a long time ago."
So he's trying to make us think he isn't going anywhere.
Mhm.
I'll be very curious in August. Intel issued a statement saying its tests show the fixes to Spectre and Meltdown can cause performance slowdown of 2 to 14%, but Intel still maintains it should not be significant for average computer users. Intel's 8th gen core chips, its newest line, will see a performance impact of no more than 6%, according to Intel.
That's a lot less than what I was hearing about from Spectre and Meltdown. So while they're saying this is the numbers that we're getting, I'm really interested to see some like real-time data from a lot of other places as well, not just the CPU manufacturers.
Totally.
Speaking of Spectre, NVIDIA has issued software updates for its drivers to mitigate against the Spectre vulnerability in its GeForce, Tesla, Grid, NVS, and Quadro chips. The GPUs themselves aren't vulnerable to the flaws, only CPU. Cisco said vulnerable products in its line and continues to examine others.
Philips announced Hue Sync for Windows 10 and macOS High Sierra that matches hue lights to what's on your screen. Now, this may sound like just a novelty, but eventually this could lead to custom lighting from movie and video game makers. Philips also said it will have its first outdoor lights coming this summer.
We've actually seen some similar things coming out from, for example, Alienware around PCs. And usually it's the backlighting on the monitor or on the laptop or whatever you're using to game. And they'll match whatever it is that's happening in the video game. So it ends up giving you a really nice like emotional appeal. And it kind of draws you into the video game a little more. So I like using that kind of backlighting. I think it's really pretty, but it is kind of a gimmick if you don't really care about that.
Microsoft and Qualcomm announced Verizon, Sprint, China Telecom, Telecom Italia, and EE will all provide LTE support for always-on Windows devices that are running on Qualcomm's Snapdragon processor. That brings the total number of carriers on board to 18.
18!
Woo.
Yay!
Not 180. 18.
It really is 18.
It really is 18 this time.
It's a running joke.
Now, here are some more top stories. Senator John Thune, chairman of the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, sent a letter to Tim Cook on January 9th with questions about Apple's battery management that slows down older iPhones. Senator Thune asked about possible free battery replacements or rebates for people who paid full price for replacements. He also asked how Apple notified customers of software changes. That's my big bugaboo is why didn't they tell people they were doing this? I don't think they need to necessarily give free batteries to people. Batteries wear out. That's natural. But why didn't they say, we're doing this mitigation to stop your phone from dying?
And to explain why the phones were dying. You know, everybody sees slowdowns. And if you think it's just engineered obsolescence, you go out and you buy a new phone for $800 instead of just getting a new battery for $79 and now $29.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad they're looking into it. I don't think this is something that I expect that Apple's going to, throw free batteries at people, but you never know.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Samsung's smartphone head of smartphones, DJ Ko, told ZDNet that the Galaxy S9 will be announced at Mobile World Congress next month. Sort of an announcement about an announcement. Mobile World Congress runs from February 26th through March 1st. Ko also told ZDNet that Samsung plans to launch a foldable phone in 2018, but didn't provide any more details beyond that.
Foldable phone. Wait a minute, because this was going to go into quick hits until they said foldable phone. So,
well, now, how is foldable different than flip? Does it have to
screen fold?
Yeah.
I want to see the screen folding.
Like, does it go from being
like a roll-up phone
like
type
it looks
thing?
like a phone with a touch screen on the front, but then you fold it open and you get a larger screen and maybe a tablet interface, something like that.
That sounds like a PDA.
How very retro.
This year.
You're skeptical of the foldable phone that anyone would want it, and I think you're not alone. But
I just want to know what that means.
I know. I'm curious to see if it's actually hinged,
Yeah.
or if it's just. I mean, is it roll up like that LG screen we're talking about?
Yeah.
Who knows?
The mind boggles. Facebook is testing a new section called Today In. Users in 6 cities across the United States will see stories from local publishers as well as any emergency announcements from local authorities. Facebook's news partnership team will approve local news sources that appear in the section. So this is a test. It's not going to be front and center. It's going to be in the menu. So they're going to see if people in Little Rock, Billings, Peoria, New Orleans will go in to find their local news stories.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally think this is an important thing. I find it harder and harder to rely on my local paper because they're so focused on national and international news to find out neighborhood stuff. This could be a great solution to that.
Well, so many people on Facebook, too, just happen to have a lot of friends from wherever they grew up, and that isn't necessarily where you live now. And so that's the sort of thing where I would like to filter somewhere around, by my hometown in some capacity.
Oh, yeah.
Because I care about that stuff. And I know a lot of people who are on Facebook that also do.
Right now, you have to say your location is where this is to see it, but they said eventually you might be able to do that. Say, oh, your hometown's Sebastopol, your hometown's Greenville.
Right.
You can get that news, too. I mean, do you think this could help the solve the local news gap?
You know, I don't know. It's hard because, you know, it takes money to create local news. So a lot of newsrooms and local papers have cut back on journalist staff. And so, you know, if they still have good local news, and if Facebook can bring in some additional revenue, maybe to these smaller independent publishers or the small group publishers, then yeah, I think it could help. And I agree with I want to know what's happening in my hometown. You know, as someone who moved away from a small town, you know, a lot of times what you use Facebook for is to reconnect with those people in the events in the small town. So if you do it through the paper, that's
the features of Twitter that I've always liked the most. I don't know who else uses it, but I search for tweets near me about something. You know, if I thought there was an earthquake or, I don't know, a car accident or whatever. Of like needle in a haystack because it's Twitter and you just sort of see if something surfaces and maybe you get something, maybe you don't. Facebook is good at organizing that sort of information more than at least my experience on Twitter. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I look at it and I think, okay, Facebook's not monetizing this, which means that the news sources aren't going to be able to monetize it on Facebook. Maybe they'll change that. It'll drive some traffic to them. Maybe that helps with advertising. But you're right, the monetization of this is a big problem. And it's funny to me, I was thinking about this while we were talking. The Greenville Advocate, my hometown newspaper in Greenville, Illinois, and WGEL, the radio station, do a better job of covering stuff on the web than like neighbor only option.
I think it depends on the tradition, right, in the paper. If they have good local news coverage. Now, my hometown paper, the Henry County Local, you know, if it's like farm machinery stuff and local weddings and marriages and local things at the high school, you know, that's cool. You know, I'm interested in that. I want to see what happened. So I guess it just depends on how good the local paper is. Right?
I know everybody that got married in Greenville last year. I know nobody who got married in my neighborhood that I actually live in.
Because nobody did.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. It's LA. Nobody gets married.
They're all getting divorced. My hometown newspaper only published once a week on Wednesdays.
Wow.
But that would include everyone who had been arrested since the last Wednesday. it was a whole page, so everybody knew everybody's business. Yeah, gotta love small towns. Apple will transfer its iCloud operations in China to China-based GCBD starting February 28th. This is in order to better comply with laws requiring customer data to be stored within China itself. Apple said customers won't notice the change, don't have to worry about backdoors being created into any of its systems.
Well,
but it, you know, whenever we talk about,
I'm sure they believe that. That's hard to say.
China company handling iCloud information.
I can't wait to hear about this at DEF CON.
I bet
It's gonna be great.
I'm sure there'll be something to say about it. I mean, and this is the trend of big companies having to hand over their data management to local industries in China, because China has been cracking down. This law has been around for a while, but they've really been cracking down on saying, no, your data has to be managed here.
Yep.
You can't, and if I'm Amazon, I'm like, that's a technical challenge to keep it there. I've got instances all over the world that's less efficient. I'm just going to hand this off to somebody else. Same for Apple.
Well, Apple has been very, very good about encrypting their devices and about their data policies. Quite well, especially in the past couple of years. So I wouldn't expect for them to allow China to put any kind of backdoors in the product or anything like that. So for them to say that, I have a lot more trust in them than I would other companies if they said the same thing.
But even if they didn't want to, it seems to increase the likelihood that the government could do it anyway if they wanted to.
That's
and
true.
then, you know, Apple's hands and anyone's hands are tied at that point.
Right.
There's only so much you can do.
If the government can get GCBD to do it, then Apple doesn't have any part of that anymore. Yeah, other than contracts and whatever. T-Mobile launched a narrowband IoT, that's NB-IoT service plan for customers who want to connect multiple devices. Connections cost $6 a year, not $6 a month, $6 a year for up to 12 megabytes of data. So the idea is you use this for a lot of different devices. NB-IoT is mainly being rolled out in Europe and Asia. So T-Mobile is kind of the first one in North America, or at least in the United States, to do it. Verizon and AT&T are pursuing a different version of this called Cat-M. T-Mobile expects to launch its own Cat-M variant by the middle of this year. So they're just going to NB-IoT first. It's not necessarily a format war. It's a different take on the spec. Both services offer better battery life than GPRS or LTE Cat 4, so they're going to replace that. And if you're like, wait a minute, so if I want to hook up a Nest Cam, I got to pay an extra $6 a year. You hook that thing up to Wi-Fi. This is for smart meters, fire alarms and intruder alarms that need to be independent of your Wi-Fi, health devices, industrial appliances, stuff like that.
Okay.
And that's really, it's the connectivity that really makes these devices work.
Yeah.
So you can't have millions, billions, and eventually, trillions of IoT devices spread out all around the smart city without having some form of connectivity. And so being able to do that in an economical fashion, makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And we heard so much about smart cities at CES this week. This is the bonanza for these companies if they can get that business and be the company that provides connection for that. Well, that is a look at our top stories. Thanks to everybody who follows us. If you want to get your headlines, again, a big thanks to Rich Straffolino, who's been covering the Daily Tech headlines every day. That's less than 5 minutes. It's available on your Amazon Echo, on your Google Home, on the Anchor app, and of course at dailytechheadlines.com as a podcast. Well, let's talk about some of those things we saw at CES this week. As usually happens on day 2 of CES, the press has been covering it for 4 days, so the actual announcements start to slow down a little bit. And it gives us a chance to kind of look back on a couple of those things that we've mentioned, but maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about a little more. So I asked Bill and Shannon to pick one of those things that's really stuck out to them, because that's what everybody always does when you walk around CES. Like, what's the one thing that stuck out to you? So we'll start with you, Shannon. What caught your eye?
So it was pretty cool. Yesterday, I got a chance to go hang out with NVIDIA up at their suite, and they had a new HTC Vive Pro set up in a very, very small, somewhat cramped room. They were claiming is that this one has a 78% increase in the resolution. So it's supposed to be a lot better whenever you put it on. It's supposed to look a lot nicer. So you won't have to deal with like squinting to see different things or moving it around as much to find the perfect setting on your eyeballs. And I have to say, when I put it on and I was actually using it, it was a lot easier for me to focus on different things, especially since I was playing an FPS. So a first-person shooter is very hard in a virtual reality concept, especially if you can't see what you're looking at, if you're on a low resolution or if you're really focusing on the pixels as opposed to what's happening around you. Now with the HTC Vive Pro, I still noticed that there were pixels on the screen, but since the resolution has increased, little things like tiny details of lines written on scenarios, like he's looking at a wall and it had Japanese writing on it, some kanji characters. I could read each and every one of those kanji characters and it didn't look blurry at all. It was very, very nice and very detailed. So I was really impressed with the resolution. But not just that, it was also incredibly comfortable, even though there were headphones that they stick on the side of your ears now.
The built-in headphones.
Yeah, and they're on-ear headphones. So I was worried that they would tire out my ears or they would hurt a lot, because generally headphones really hurt my ears. But these ones cupped them very comfortably. They didn't squeeze too hard, and you have the ability to change how far you want them away from you. So it's really easy to set them to whatever the width of your head is, so you're not worried about having them too tight to your head. And they sounded good as well. Yeah. As far as being able to play the game and how well it connected with your graphics card, of course, a lot of that is going to depend on what kind of graphics card you're using. They recommended to me something over 1080i or over GTX 1080i or plus. So if you have a 1060 or lower, they mentioned that you might have to lower the details in your video game.
So it'll still work. You're just not going to get the full power.
It'll still work, but it won't look as good as one of the newer ones, which kind of makes sense. And for the record, I was playing a game called Raw Data, and it had all these androids chasing after you. It was really scary. Yeah. It was very scary. One jumped right out at me. No, they really don't stop. But apparently I was the only person to beat the boss.
Yeah, you did well.
Yeah, I did very well.
And you've never played the game before.
I've never played the game, ever in my life. And he just gave me some very simple directions, like how to put in the little thing for your gun, and that was about it. And I was like, okay. And then I started shooting androids. So apparently it works quite well if I can do it.
Yeah. I've played Raw Data.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have done as well as you. So.
Have you played it in virtual reality?
I played it on the Vive, not the Vive Pro, though. Okay. That makes all the difference, those extra pixels.
I have played on the Vive, just not that game on the Vive, so I can't make a direct comparison between that video game on those two separate headsets.
Right.
But from what I was able to experience in that room, I was really impressed by the resolution.
Now, did you get a chance to use the wireless one, or was it tethered?
I did not.
Okay.
This one was tethered. However, the wireless one I heard is going to be able to use with the original Vive or the Vive Pro. They haven't set out a price for either of them yet. The original Vive is over $600 just about. So I would assume that the Vive Pro, since the resolution is so much better, it's probably going to be a couple of $100 over that, maybe. That's what I would guess.
Now, it wasn't so immersive you went wandering out into the show floor like what you saw.
No, it wasn't.
No.
You saw somebody just kind of...
I did. You know, it's when you have these VR experiences, they're fairly immersive, and so
Yeah.
you can get into them. As someone who's used the Oculus Rift and the Vive and even the PlayStation VR, you know, you kind of forget where you are. I was actually playing Skyrim on PSVR the other day, and one of the characters on the screen walked in the room out of another door, and I really, for a moment, half a second, I jumped because I thought the person was in my real room. I mean, I don't know. I was like, what? Oh no, that's fake. So we saw on the show floor today somebody playing one of these games, and they were literally looking for a carrot. I know that because that's what the booth attendant was telling him, and he was down on the ground trying to pick this carrot up. I thought he was sick. At first, I'm like, okay,
Yeah, this man needs help.
This man needs help. And then I saw the headset, and I'm like, oh, he's playing a game, right?
That's
it's okay.
awesome. Yeah.
While everybody walks past and sort of goes around him,
Well,
I'm like,
it
is
seems
really
like a
this
very
way we wanna do
immersive
it?
game for him.
Yes.
He truly forgot where he was.
He really wanted that carrot.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
carrot.
Yeah.
That carrot works better than the stick. That's proof right there. Bill, what about you? What's your pick so far?
You know, the most interesting thing that I've seen so far isn't actually on the show floor. And this is what's, you know, kind of, you have to kind of go out and find it sometimes. It's the LG rollable display. This is a 65-inch. We were talking about the foldable phone. So this is a flexible display, an LG display, which is separate from LG Electronics. LG Display has shown these off in years past that you could bend and you could roll them up. That was a big thing a couple years ago. Well, but they were small. So this one is 65 inches, and it's designed to roll down into a box that's about, I don't know, about this big. It's about 50, I think, millimeters or so in width. And it's really cool because it allows you think, well, why do you need a rollable display beyond just being able to maybe mold it around a curved wall or something like that? But the display that they were showing, showed it in various heights. So that was what was pretty unique about it, right? So you could have it fully extended to just watch television. But let's say you just wanted to see the weather, or let's say you just wanted to, you know, or you want photos from a photo album that was streamed to it, you could have it come up maybe halfway or a quarter of the way. If you wanted to only see half of the screen, you could do that. So there were a lot of presets that they had built in that you could use for different sort of, you know, effects that you want to have. So I thought this was really interesting. Now the sad part is I don't know when I want it now. You know, and I don't know when they're actually.
And you don't know,
it's a concept, right?
And you don't know
It's a
how much you're going to
prototype.
have to pay for something like this as well.
Right.
It's funny, of course, just because now I don't understand half the technology that's being created. It's like, but why don't you just keep it unrolled the whole time? And if you want to see weather, it's just like part of the TV. But it's also like saying, well, some people like those media stands that close because they don't want to look at the TV unless they're using it, right? So there's all sorts of reasons that you might not want to see a TV. And if it can be rolled up and put away,
Right,
It's
you know,
all-
in a
you know,
coffee
it's a-
table. I
it's a
imagine it
personal
like,
preference.
let's say you didn't want the TV out all the time. Let's say you had kids and you didn't want them to damage the screen. Let's say you had a shop or it was in a retail environment and it was in the ceiling and you wanted to protect it when you weren't there. The shop was closed.
Or using a room as a dining room or a media center, depending on your mood.
Too.
Yeah.
It's
Rather
easier
than a
to
big old
ship
65
too.
inch.
So imagine if you could roll this, you know, the screen up into the small box and ship that as opposed to shipping this big rigid piece of glass that's likely to break.
That's
Sure.
so cool.
Yeah,
I can
it gets
imagine
scratched.
sticking it in like a poster shipper
Yeah,
container.
that's right. Rolling it
Just
up into a
rolling it up
tube.
and shipping it via UPS or something. That's so funny.
And I think
I was going to be the guy who said, "I do you really want this? I mean, it's a cool demo. It's cool technology. but who really uses those cabinets and doesn't just leave them open all the time? Who really wants this rolling up? You're giving me a couple of ideas to think about, like with kids and portability.
Since I vend at DEF CON a lot of times, we always bring TVs with us, and those are some of the heaviest things that we have to ship or carry on our van. And if we had something that we could roll up and just prop up on a tripod or prop up on a table while we're at the booth and then take back with us later, like it's a convention full of hackers. So of course we want to protect our assets. So it'd be nice if we had something that was so easy to carry around.
Well, any last thoughts about?
I hope it comes to market sometime in the near future. I hope it's not one of those ideas that comes to CES to die.
Yeah, because clip that out and put that right next to your favorite CES announcement, because that's always the thing.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com and at facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Let's check in with Chris Christensen. We usually check with him earlier in the week, but CES got in the way. But he's got some interesting stuff to talk about.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. If you're a frequent flyer like I am and you got to the new year here, you might be interested in doing what I did, which is get a map of all the different places you flew over the last year. And there's a website that can help you do that. It's called openflights.org. You can either enter in all the flights manually, which seems like that would be a royal pain, or if you use TripIt, which I know both Tom and I have recommended in the past, you can just import your flights from TripIt.com, and it will turn that into both a map and a summary of which airports you went through, which airlines you flew, and how many times, and what type of planes you flew. So this is perfect for an airplane walk, which I would have to admit to be. And you can learn how many segments you flew. That's how many times you took off and landed. So I, for instance, flew 49 last year and 122,546 miles. If you think that sounds tiring, I also learned that I was in flight for over 11 and a half days. And I think I got jet lag just thinking about it. Openflights.org, and I'm Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, being able to track where you've been and put it on a map and get you stats about that sounds really cool. But the idea of finding out that I spent, what did he say, 11 days in flight overall? Like,
jeez, this makes you feel sad.
I don't want to think about it. Yeah,
yeah.
he said, like he said, he gets the jet lag just thinking about it. Well, mailbag is still there, Sarah. What's in it?
Yeah, it is, and I can even see it. Chip, who says he's from finally above 0 degrees Boston, which I assume is Fahrenheit, but still very cold. Glad to hear it. It's warming up. Chip says, listening to Monday's show on GoPro's declining sales and how their company seemed maybe open to selling itself got me thinking. DJI should buy GoPro. DJI has the drone market fairly well locked up, but they don't have anything in the way of an action camera, and they could basically market their drones as DJI featuring GoPro optics. Love the show. Keep up the great work. I've heard a couple of the people speculating about this. It's like, well, the drone market has gotten saturated, and companies are going to start gobbling up other companies, or companies are going to fail altogether. But GoPro has a lot of great stuff. And it's a good point that DJI does have the drone market, or the lion's share of it at this point, but it's not doing everything better than GoPro.
Yeah, and I look at these always in 3 ways. Like, how do I feel as a customer? What would the two companies feel like? So that's the 3. I'm sure GoPro would be happy if DJI bought them, as long as it was the right offer. I'm not sure whether DJI wants to buy GoPro.
Do you think there's enough value there? I mean, you've got the GoPro brand, which is very recognizable in the sports camera market. Mm-hmm. And then you have the technology and any kind of licensing or IP that they have that would come along with it. But is that... couldn't DJI just come up with their own action camera? I mean, they had a really good 4K camera on their drones. Yeah. And so what did they do? They took it and they put it on, they took the gimbal that's already on their drones and they put a handle on it, and now they have a handheld camera.
I saw dozens of people with that thing this week.
That's right. Yeah. And so couldn't they just sort of roll their own when it came to action cameras, or is there enough in GoPro's brand to say, yeah, I want a GoPro, and there's enough value there?
Yeah, no, that's definitely the question. I mean, as a customer, I just don't want to lose access to those cool GoPro things. If DJI bought them, I would be confident that they would stay. Like you say, I mean, it kind of makes more sense for a smaller drone operator who can't develop their own cameras, but maybe they can pull together an acquisition or a merger or something like that. I don't know.
I think something that DJI is kind of missing in that market is the durability, especially in setting. The fact that you can take a GoPro out and stick it on the front of your car and it'll be okay, especially if you have a little mount around it. Like DJI doesn't really have something like that right now. And if they were able to implement that kind of durability into their drone market, or even with their gimbals, it would do them a lot of favors for a lot of people.
And if they could only keep the rotors from breaking when I crash them, that would be the next best thing.
Me too.
Yeah. But no, it's a thought-provoking email, so thank you, Chip.
Well, thank you to both of our guests, Shannon and Bill. Shannon, we'll start with you. Where can people find out everything that you have going on?
So you can follow everything I'm doing. I am on Twitter at Snubs, but this week I am focusing on Tech Thing. That's TEK Thing. It's over at youtube.com/Tech Thing. And Patrick Norton and I have been putting out videos every single day that we've been here. And my goal is to get out I want to say 6 to 8 videos by the end of the week. We got 4 up right now, so I think we're on target. But if you want to see some interesting stuff that we've been finding on the show floor and some little hands-on reviews from the show floor, check it out, youtube.com/techthing.
Bill Detwiler, thank you to you as well for joining us, even with your handy dandy little mic situation that, just
on the box. We needed a box, so we found a box for it.
Yeah, exactly. Let folks know where they can keep up with everything that you do.
Yeah, so everybody could follow me on Twitter. I'm at Bill Detwiler. Pretty simple there. And of course, I publish stuff all across the CBS Interactive Tech sites. So Tech Republic, ZDNet, and of course, CNET.
So check it out. Especially techrepublic.com. They have
and you can see Tom
videos
there too. That's right.
Be nice to Bill. He's my boss over there.
And thank you to the orange.
Yes, we have an orange. If you're on the audio podcast, you can't hear it, but it's just sitting
it's
there.
Pretty significant, though. Yeah, it might make you want to watch the video.
Hey, we will also want to thank all of our patrons who support the show. The entire reason we were able to have all 3 of us come out here and try this and persist through power outages and bring you this coverage every day is because you guys support the show. So let us know what you think, what you would like us to do if we do this again. What stuff we did that you like, that you want to make sure we keep, and keep supporting us at patreon.com/DTNS.
Our email address, if you would like to give us feedback, is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
We will be back tomorrow from our normal location with Justin Robert Young. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Yay! That is wild.
It's a great show.
You said you would. Blockchain binding. What in the world? This must be a joke, right?
Cool.
I don't know.
That was great. We also nailed 30 minutes. I wasn't even paying attention.
Nice.
Perfect time.
Wow.
Where did you see that?
The power comes back up maybe a little bit.
Somebody at Sky News.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah, the power outage made us leave because we didn't have power. That's all right. Go. Well, we're on the stream still, and I gotta publish this. So, all right. Yeah, let's pick our titles and do all this.
I was already looking at Showbot, and Vive Las Vegas, which could be read as Vive Las Vegas. I also voted for it, so it's in first place with 3 votes. I thought that was kind of funny. Local news in your Facebook. We're not calling the show "There's an Orange on the Table."
There's an orange.
That was a good one, so everything's bacon. Let's see what else.
There was forgetting where you are. AR with VR. Get it?
Where you are.
That's a
right.
good one. A convention full of hackers. Hashtag CES Blackout. Look for carrots.
Look for carrots.
Looking for
A
carrots.
fear and loathing in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye.
I like Vive Las Vegas. Stick with it.
Yeah, it seems to be in.
Vive Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
I'm gonna take over the post. If that's all right.
Yeah.
So Vive Las Vegas, we're good.
Yep.
HTC or just
Five.
5.
It took me like a solid year not to call it the Vive.
Oh no!
It just looks
Really?
like the word looks like Vive to me.
Yeah.
You know, I know how to say it, but I want to say Vive.
Yeah.
That's right. It is.
I guess I always associated it with Thrive or
So,
Hive.
maybe I just have to
Yeah.
think of it that way, and then yeah,
That's how I remember it.
or five. I don't know why I want to say Vive.
It does look like
I'm so international, you know, I'm just pronouncing it as I would in Spain.
You're just a world traveler.
So fancy.
We have speaking of Vive Las Vegas, at the Ren, they have a robot and they have put stickers all over it and they're calling it Elvis.
What
I don't know what the robot does. It roams around.
are they?
supposedly.
Elvis stickers?
Wait, where is this?
At the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, no, we saw that robot. In fact,
Oh.
Roger had something delivered by that robot.
Did you have something delivered?
Yeah.
By the Now, okay, so
The
here's
robot got
my
stuck in the
question.
elevator.
How did it actually notify you that delivery was there? Did it just keep bumping into the door?
No, it rang my phone.
That's
It
what
rang
we,
my phone.
we were walking down and somebody said that, oh, we could just ring the room phone. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
It works pretty well. There's 2. One's called Elvis. The other one is named Priscilla.
Really? Okay.
I get it.
Can it deliver like food or?
The head cavity was like big enough to like stack maybe 3 notebooks. So it
Okay.
wasn't particularly deep or wide. Like you couldn't stick a dinner plate in it,
Okay.
kind of thing.
Huh.
But if it was deep enough to hold a roll of toilet paper and a little vial of.
Huh.
I got toilet paper.
Right.
Yeah, I ran out, so I needed some.
Well, did you have to tip the robot? That's what's the tipping
No.
etiquette on the robot?
Don't tip it.
Don't tip it. It needs to go back to the base station. But there's a little touchscreen. No. What you do in lieu of tipping is you have to rate it. They ask
Really?
you, how did I do? And I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Social tip.
I never
Okay.
give 5 out of 5.
But what did it do to warrant the knock?
Brought him.
Why
Oh,
wasn't it a 5 out of 5? It did what it was supposed to do, right? Did not come fast enough.
Like what?
It was rude.
Why wasn't it 5?
5 is good.
But
Right.
why
5
isn't
out
it?
of 5 is exceptional, unless you give
So
me an
that's-
option above 5.
That's the A plus. Okay.
It would if it talked to me, it's like, hey, like if it was.
See,
It's-
6 out of 5 to me is exceptional. 5 out of 5 is you did everything
but
right.
The scale doesn't go that high. So I do that with when I
No, no, we get it. We get it.
Because
So we're just wondering, like,
these
what
go to
would they-
11,
why?
What
right?
would it
Yeah.
have had to do to get found?
You know what? If it could actually deliver food, that would be cool. But part of it is like Sarah was saying, like some people weren't letting the robot out of the elevator, so
Yeah,
your
the
food could
robot
get
was stuck in the
cold.
elevator.
Like, and it has to be big enough to carry a 12-inch or 12-inch pizza pie, something like that.
And it didn't seem wide enough to do
Yeah.
that. It didn't seem
But
like
for all the normal stuff, like if you need, I need an extra bath towel,
towel, then
something
yeah,
like that. But
That's
not more
kinda
than
cool.
one towel, just like one towel.
Hmm.
Pretty handy.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw it getting out of the elevator, and they had it roaming around the lobby, and it was pretty cool. But they seem to have a person with it. At least like when I was there, it was like, okay, it's going up there.
When I saw
Not
it,
like going along with it, but in the elevator. Maybe that was
Oh,
just
maybe.
coincidence that one of the staff was
Maybe to
riding
keep
up
it from
with
getting
it.
stuck in the elevator like it did.
No,
that.
that's what it was. They were like, if it won't bump into people, so if there's too many people getting out or something, I just overheard it in passing.
you know what's going to happen, right? They're gonna take the old dumb waiters and resize them to fit these robots.
Now, that would be cool. That would be neat. Well, now, and how much pressure does this put on the hotel staff? You know, the job market, right? So we have a future where robots deliver everything to the room, and so you don't need anybody else to come up and like be mad at 2 a.m. when you ask them to bring you extra towels, right? And expect a $5 tip.
Yeah.
An email on my phone, and I realize I have a laptop in front of me. Why don't I just do that?
Do you ever do that where you're like,
First
oh, I have to
system.
pick up my phone to do this task because I do it on my phone, even though you could do it on your laptop or tablet or whatever other thing?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I once, in my most embarrassing moment ever, I was alone, but I'll just share this with you. I picked up my phone and looked through my pages of apps because I was looking for my phone. Like, I need to use my phone. Where is it?
Find your phone.
Where's my phone? Where's my physical phone? And then, you know, like a minute into it, I was like, this is really bad. It's like
your glasses,
glasses
are on your head.
forehead.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly the same thing. But they've become so ubiquitous, right? I mean, honestly, that's you don't think you. It's like, oh, it's right here. You just don't think that,
it's
right?
More of like, I need something.
Right,
Like I
yeah.
walked into a room. What do I need? I need something.
I need
right
something,
now.
or
Yeah.
like walking and looking at the refrigerator, or walking in the room. And go, why did I walk into this room?
Exactly.
It's like you picked up your phone, and it's like, I need my phone. Oh, it's here.
It's in my hand. I'm looking in my phone for my phone.
I open up tabs to do that all the time. Like, why did I open this new tab? What was I going to do?
Andrew's tweeting about the show.
Is it all about power outages or actual?
Hashtag CES Blackout.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, it's still trending.
Yeah, I think they said it did come back.
Part of the thing is, like, especially for our show, we didn't have an ETA, so we can't just assume it would come back.
Yeah, exactly.
He's complaining. Not Justin.
What?
No, when I was creating the doc for tomorrow, I called Justin Robert Young Justin.
He is kind of a powerful presence. Well, we should probably end the stream, huh?
Yes, I'm going to end the stream right now.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for putting up with our.
And also, thanks to everybody who came to the meetup.
Yes,
last night.
That was so
much
fun.
It was so great.
The meetup was really awesome. We had a hard time trying to find that place, and I'm glad that everyone else managed to
So
find
many
it.
people showed up, and we had a great time talking to folks, and got to meet people from the chat room like Poodle Puncher.
Yeah, that
I can now
Made
have
some
a
new
face
friends.
to go with Poodle Puncher.
Yeah.
Before it was just a poodle with a big boxing glove in its
In
face.
your head when you saw it.
Yeah, that's when I heard poodle. It's like, now I got it. All right, thank you
thank
guys
you.
so much. Tomorrow we're going to be
Thank
back
you.
at home.
Goodbye.
Stopping.